us now is a Detroit leader of the UHY Valuations Group. UHY is a great company. I mentioned Tony Frabata, longtime friend of the program way back to the JP days. And now helping me with my tax information, Keith Moore, and especially Jonathan Shoemaker. These are guys that work very, very hard, as Jacob Katz works very hard and is very well aware of Keith and Jonathan and the whole team there at UHY. Jacob, welcome to the Paul W. Smith Show at WJR.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is our pleasure. We're all looking at changes. We have a new administration, a whole different philosophy, and let's face it, there's changes in the tax code under the Biden administration. And it's my feeling that, given everything I've heard so far, that it won't just be people making $400,000 or more that are going to see kind of a tax increase. What's your professional thought?
That's absolutely correct, Paul. We do expect there to be changes in the income tax code, especially with what happened on January 6th in Georgia and ostensibly control the Senate moving over to the Democrats. But the tax changes that we expect, the low-hanging fruit that we expect the administration to go after, is more centered on the estate and gift side, which is going to affect many of our business owners and as well as their employees. For instance, you had a piece about Blake's Cider. Here was a company that was very, very small at one point and now is very large. And that's the type of tax code that's going to affect them dramatically and what they plan to do in the future, and therefore affects everybody down the line.
Everybody. And I contend that if you make $50,000 a year, you're going to see it or feel it. And frankly, there are other taxes out there that we don't necessarily automatically think of taxes, but they truly are the way they affect our ability to spend or save any money. And that is that there's inevitable that the gas prices are going to go up. We aren't going to be producing. We aren't going to be as energy efficient and not be able to stand on our own once we stop drilling and getting natural resources in certain areas that we've kind of gotten used to, which has helped keep the prices down. So those prices are going to go up. So this is not a thing that, you might have said, well, it's going to affect Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all these billionaires. No, it's going to affect all of us. And when do you think these changes will go into effect?
Sure. Well, there's a bit of a political question there. Obviously, we do expect that we can bracket it to some degree. So, for instance, we don't expect it to occur before the impeachment debate is over. On the other hand, the Biden administration has about a 2-year period of time, and frankly, a lot less than that, in order to enact some of their larger pieces of legislation. And their tax piece is one of those. They're going to face ardent opposition by the Republicans in the Senate as well as in the House. And so they're going to likely want to spend that political capital that they have sometime in 2021 and begin proposing tax law changes. And again, these aren't just legislative changes. There are certain things, as we've seen from the Biden administration, as we saw from the Trump administration, that can be changed with just a piece of pen on a piece of paper. So there are also changes that you've alluded to that could affect a number of tax laws without having to ever go through Congress.
Wow. It just means it's going to be a bit more confusing, and we really need to, like I do, depend on the professionals. I would never pretend to be able to, in this day and age, do my own taxes. I need help, and you guys at UHY help, and I appreciate that. If we focus on this great state of ours, on Michigan, how does what happens in Washington, D.C. affect things here directly?
Sure. Well, as we saw from the State of the State address yesterday evening, Governor Whitmer has substantial plans on what to do for the budget and, more importantly, for the COVID response. Republicans have countered with their own plan that is somewhat approximately $2 billion less. But that money isn't conjured out of thin air. A lot of that money is coming from Washington, D.C. Right now, as a country, we are spending a lot of money, which is appropriate when we're facing a pandemic. And again, that money itself doesn't get conjured out of air, even though in the short term, sometimes it seems like it does. What this means is that this bill is coming due for the country, and And with the Biden administration in place, we expect to see substantial changes in the income tax, but also in the estate and gift, because a lot of people don't focus their attention on that side of things. And so that affects Michigan because every business that supports the automotive industry and manufacturing and all of those businesses, many of them are family owned or they've been family owned, and that will have a direct impact on all of those. So what we see right now is for the business areas, the clock is ticking, and now is the time to start doing that planning before the legislation gets changed and the planning is no longer viable.
Jacob Katz, director, Detroit leader of the UHY Valuations Group. You said that bill is coming due. You know, I'm starting to think it's not ever coming due, because we used to talk about this all the time. We used to talk about the national debt, and now we're throwing around $2 trillion here and $2 trillion there, figures we never threw around that are only adding to that.
Let me throw an even bigger number at you: $68 trillion. That's approximately how much wealth we expect to transfer in the next anywhere from 5 to 15 years as baby boomers and previous generations, even prior to baby boomers, transfer their wealth, their businesses, and their hard work to the next generation. Whether that is millennials or older than them, we're talking about 68 trillion of wealth being transferred.
Wow.
Just to put things in context.
And by the way, would I be wrong in saying that it might behoove people of any means, but people of means in general, to check and see what they should do now before new laws go into effect that keep them from taking advantage of certain rules, regulations that are in effect now that we know are going to go away?
Absolutely. That clock is ticking, and it's been ticking for a while. We were extremely busy, as I'm sure other firms in our industry were busy at the end of last year. But January 6th was an interesting moment where we knew that certain things that the Senate might have been able to stop, they will not be able to as easily stop. So we have a window. It's unlikely that the administration and Congress would pass a law that would go retroactive back to January 1st. But the day that they pass new legislation, that's when those opportunities to take those actions will no longer be there. And we're talking about losing, for a family or even for a single person, $5 to $6 million in credits that if they don't use them now, they're likely to lose them forever.
Wow. Important information, Jacob. Thank you for that. Jacob Katz, UHY Valuations Group. Give my best, please, to our other friends there, Tony Frabata, and the guys helping me now, Keith Moore and Jonathan Shoemaker. It's 7:27. You can find Jonathan in his office.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Jacob, as we continue
on WJR.
My pleasure. Thank you.